Hello and welcome to Rain Francis Art. My name is Rain. Today we're doing a little bit of art therapy, my friends, a little still life pear with watercolors. Won't you join me? All right, let's paint a pear today. Let's do a little bit of art therapy today and just relax and paint a pear. No pressure, no perfection, just relaxation and fun. If you want to join along, I'll show you what I'm using today. I've got some Strathmore watercolor cold press paper. It's 9 by 12 inches and it's 140 pound. This is great paper for watercolor studies and practicing. I have my pan paints. I'm not sure what colors I'll be using, but I'll be sticking to a warm palette, kind of maybe some yellow, brown, orange, green, that type of palette. I've got all round brushes. I don't know which ones I'm using yet, but I'll let you know in the description below after. I'll put a list of what I used exactly. I have a large round. This is either a number 8 or a number 10, but it's worn off over the years and I cannot remember for the life of me what size it is. I've got my number 4 round, my number 2 round, and I have a number 4 liner brush in case I want to do some fine lines or details. I have some water, I have some paper towels, I have my a watercolor pencil here. It's a brown color that I'm going to use to sketch. And I hope that you don't mind, my friends. I decided I didn't want to put my bright lights on today because it's a very bright day outside. There might be some shadows because my window is over there, but isn't it so much nicer not to have bright fluorescent lights over you? I find that those stress me out a little bit. I just taped down my canvas here so that it wouldn't move, and I have my Bob Ross playing cards. I always bring the Bob Ross playing cards out when we do a little art therapy because I love his wisdom. Who am I kidding? I love the man. He was such a wonderful man. He taught me how to paint. Honestly, I watched his Joy of Painting show, every single one of them. And I started painting with oil paints and I copied him, and over the years I developed kind of my own style and I tried acrylics and watercolors, and I love him. And when I saw this deck of cards I couldn't resist. So let's see what he wants us to know today. You can move mountains, rivers, trees. You can determine what your world is like. Now, these words of wisdom that he says, they obviously were said in context of his painting on the Joy of Painting. But if you think of it more in a philosophical way, you can move mountains, rivers, trees. You can determine what your world is like. If you really, really think about this in a therapeutic way, you have the gift of choice in life. You can choose whether or not you can move mountains, rivers, or trees, or you can choose whether you're going to hide behind a mountain, drown in a river, and fall under a tree, right? You can choose that. And I know, I know that some people are in situations where they are trapped and they have mental health issues, but you know what? You have the freedom of your mind. You have the freedom of choice of your mind. You can move mountains, rivers, and trees in your thoughts if you can't do it physically. So I think those are wonderful words of wisdom from Bob Ross today. All right, I'll be honest with you, my friends. I have never done this before. I have never painted a pear. But I wanted to try, so away I go. I've got a little reference photo in front of me that unfortunately I can't show you because it's not mine and I don't want to violate any copyright. So I'm just going to draw the stem. I hope that you can see this okay. I've got the stem here and I'm just really drawing an outline of a pear. There we go. I hope you can see that, but if you can't see it, then basically you don't need a watercolor pencil. You can take a regular pencil and just draw an outline of a pear, just so it gives you some kind of reference, I like to use the watercolor pencils because then I can blend the outline in if I don't want to see it. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm going to outline just a little kind of a squiggly area I'm gonna try to keep that white because that's gonna be the highlight of the pear right there. All right, so I'm gonna start with my number, let's see, my number 4 round brush. And I've got my paper towels handy, and I'm going to show you as I go along what colors I'm using. I'm going to try to layer as much as possible. I'm going to start with yellow. I'm going to wet my brush, and I'm going to fill in the pear with my water, except for that little squiggly area in the middle. I'd like that to remain white. Worst case scenario, if I get some paint in it, I can always lift it off, so I'm not too worried about it, but I'm going to try my best not to get any paint in there. I might put in some yellow in the end, I don't know. We'll see. I'm just trying to get the entire pear wet. Because this is a wet and wet technique, meaning your canvas is wet or your paper is wet and you're putting in wet watercolor paint. Now I'm just kind of looking on the side to make sure I got water everywhere. I can see, if I kind of look on the side, I can see that I missed a few spots. And I may have to put some more in after if it dries. There we go. Actually, I'm going to do the stem too. I'm going to do everything yellow because I'm just doing layers for now. So basically I'm going to take my yellow color, and I don't suggest you do this over your canvas. I just want you to see what I'm doing, but I normally don't like to keep my paint palette over my canvas in case of spills. I'm just going over the entire pear with this yellow color. And I'm doing layers, so hopefully this will have a little bit of depth to it when I'm done. I'm just adding some more water and I'm bringing down some of that yellow color. I believe this is called glazing as well. As long as the paint isn't too dark, it's a glaze. I'm not adding any more pigment, just bringing all that color down with some water. There we go. Now, my friends, this is just for fun and for therapeutic reasons to relax us, so if you get outside the lines, don't even worry about it. We just want to have a little fun today and just do a little pear study. Now, I want to let this dry. It shouldn't take too long because there's no puddles. And there's just a very thin layer of water. I decided to pull out my hair dryer and dry that layer. I just have a little, you know, a little hair dryer like this that I go over on the cold setting and dry it up so that I don't have to wait too long. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to choose, let's see, I'm going to choose an orange color. I think this color here, just a regular orange color. And I'm going to go over just the pear, parts of the pear area. Now that's a lot of orange right there. So what I'm going to do is add water as I go. I didn't pre-mix any paint because I'm using my pan paints. But if you're using tube paints, you can mix a nice light glaze of orange and have that ready. My dogs are up. Because I don't want a solid orange color. I just kind of want a glaze of orange. Because I want some of that yellow to show through. That's why we do layers. so some of the underneath color shows through. Now you always have to make sure that your layers are dry before you add more. I'm still using my number 4 brush. I'm going to add a little bit more pigment here. And I'm dipping my brush into water. And I'm just going to dot a little bit because I want this side to be just a little darker with that orange glaze. Not much, just a little darker. Now, while the orange is drying, I'm going to work on the stem. And the stem, I want it to be a little brown, and I've got a nice palette of brown here. And if you'll notice, I did a swatch because I like to see what the colors actually look like on watercolor paper when I get them. Now, when I got this pan of paints, it did come with a piece of paper that told me what the names of the colors were. I have lost it and I can't remember for the life of me where I put it. So I just go by my swatch now. I'm going to take this kind of a reddish brown color. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th from the black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm just going to take a very little bit. I'm wiping that off. And I'm going to do the entire stem. I could use a little more pigment on that. There we go. And like I said, just the entire stem. I'm going to rinse off my brush, dab it, and pull a little bit off because I don't want it to be too dark. There we go. Now I'm going to work on this little area here of the pear. I want that to be a little darker and I want there to be some green in it. So I'm going to choose this very light green here. It's kind of a lime green. I have to be careful because I got a little black in there. I'm going to clean that up first. And to clean it up, basically this is what you do. You wet it and you pull out the color you don't want. Rinse off your brush, dab it, and just make sure there's no color you don't want in there. That's what happens when I have my pan paints. You know, I'm painting and I'm like all excited and happy with what I'm doing, and then I get my paints everywhere. So now I'm going to add a little water just to pull some of that green all the way down my pear. And the orange is dry, so I'm going to pull some of that green into the orange. It's like a yellowish green, I guess. Now, I don't want that harsh line right there, so I'm going to take my clean brush, put a tiny little bit of clean water, and do little circles to try to blend that a little better so I don't see a solid straight line there. My dog is snoring. And now I'm kind of going over it so it blends a little better. Okay. So I like doing it in different areas because while this is drying and this is drying, I can do this area. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to take, let's see, I'm going to take this color here. Now this is 2 from here, so that's this color here. I'm sorry that I don't know what it's called, but it's kind of a brownish green. I'm going to get it nice and wet. I'm going to wipe a little bit off, and I'm going to do the whole area here. This whole area here. But I don't want it to be that dark, because like I said, I'm glazing, you know, I'm doing layers. So I just want to add a little bit there. And I'm going to blend that into the green color that I just added. I'm just rinsing off my my brush, adding some clean water, and I'm pulling that paint over. And I'm going to soften that edge there. Okay, I want to take a look into the camera to see what you see. Because right now, what I'm seeing through the camera is this is really, really yellow. And this is really, really kind of a dark yellow. So it's not really the colors that I'm using, but I will try to do this a little better so you can see it. I'm using that same kind of, what did I say, a greenish type of brown? Or maybe it's kind of an orangish type of brown. It almost looks like a yellow ochre, doesn't it? Maybe that's what it is. I wish I still had that paper that told me what the colors were. Imagine losing that. I did move recently. Well, not recently. Geez, almost 3 years ago. It feels like yesterday when you move, right? I moved from one province in Canada to another, and that was rough. I've never moved that far in my life, and it was a hard move. It takes a lot out of you, you know, to move that far with pets, and we moved ourselves too. It was interesting. So I lost a few things during the move, and that was one of them, that piece of paper. All right, for the stem, I'm going to go in and take a darker color brown. This one here, I think, that's pretty dark. And I'm just going to make a little bit of a shadow on the bottom side of the stem. Just a little shadow here on the top of the pear as well. There, I'm just going to leave it like that and let it dry. And let's see. I am going to take, let's see if this is dry. This side of the pear is dry. So I'm going to go in with that, what I believe is yellow ochre again. And I'm going to put that all over the pear. But again, I'm going to water it down. And if you were using tube paints, then you could probably just prepare your paint ahead of time on your palette and thin it out. I guess what I'm trying to do is just create a nice set of layers so that it's not just a flat color. While I'm at it, and because I have watercolor pencils here, I'm going to go and try to kind of erase that harsh squiggly line that I drew out. You know, it's good to do studies now and then. For my channel, I mean, I'm not a professional artist. I'm a self-taught artist. And I try my best to make videos that people want to see. But sometimes it's really good to just do a study, you know, just go and do a study. And what I mean by study is that you're practicing. This is a pear study, so I'm practicing painting a pear. So it's good sometimes to do that. Now I'm going to go in and take some green. I think I'm going to choose this green at the end here. And I'm going to go over that spot down here with that green color. Layer in a darker green here. Everywhere where I had the green before. And I'm going to take some water, and just like before, I'm just going to blend a little bit so that it's not a really harsh line there. Bring some of that green into the yellow ochre area. And my stem is dry, so I'm going to go back into that dark brown. And I'm going to put more of that dark brown into the stem. All right, just kind of on the bottom edge of the stem and just above the pear here. That's still a little wet, but that's okay. That'll blend. I'm going to add a little bit of water to the bottom. Just so it blends a little. All right, let's take a look at my pear. I think I can work on this side now if I'm careful around these two areas because they still are quite wet. Actually, you know what I'm going to do, my friends? I'm going to pull out the hairdryer and just dry this so that I can continue to work on it. All right, something that I noticed on my pear is that it looks a little lopsided here. If you look, it's nice and round here, but I have to remember not to be a perfectionist, right? Nothing in nature is perfect. Nothing should be perfect. So I'm just going to try to deal with that and not try to obsess about it. I've decided in this area here, I'm going to put a little red, but I want a warm red. So I'm going to choose this one here. It's kind of an orangey red. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th away. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So I'm going to, I don't want too much. And because it's a pan paint, I'm just pulling it right out of the pan. I'm going to deal with it when it's on my canvas. So that's kind of the area that I wanted to put red. So I'm going to take a little water and pull some of that around the pear. I'll pull it all the way to the edge here, like that. And now I'm cleaning off my brush and I'm dipping it into clean water, and I'm just going to try to blend. Again, just rinsing off my brush into clean water, and I'm blending. There we go. That's nice. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a little more of that red on the bottom here. And I'm going to put a little bit of water to blend that in. That's nice. Well, I like how that looks. Maybe I'm going to put a little more red, actually. As Bob Ross says, I can move mountains and rivers and trees, and I can definitely move pears. All right. Just going to blend that in a little bit. I'm going to let that dry. And I'm going to work on this area here again. And I think I'm going to use a little more of that yellow ochre. I'm not going to do the top area, but just here. And again, that's pretty dark, so I'm going to wipe off my brush, rinse it off, put a tiny little bit of water, and pull that yellow ochre. I'm rinsing off my brush, and I'm just going to blend. This is how I blend. I just go in circles with a little bit of a wet brush. All right, I think that's looking pretty good so far. Now, as for the top area here on the right, I want that to be just a little darker. And I'm thinking of pulling some green up there. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking of it. It may be a disaster, but I'm going to try just a little bit of dark green. That might be, let's see, might be a bad idea. But if I water it down a bit, let's see. That's a cool green. I probably should have used a warmer green. Bringing it down. And I've got a clean brush again. Just going to blend that a little bit. Well, that's not too bad. It's a little too green for me. Now I've got a clean wet brush with just a dab of water on it, and I'm just going to blend. Not too bad. Okay, so let me pull out the hair dryer. I'd like to add a little more red down here, so I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm using that sort of warm orangey red, and I'm going to do a little circly area. Rinse off my brush, dab it, put some clean water on it, and kind of pull that red. I might pull some of it off because I think it's too heavy. Yeah, I'm going to pull some of that off. And I'm going to wet my brush, my clean brush, with just a tiny bit of water. Try to blend that in so it doesn't look like a big red circle. And I'm going to blend that in here. And I want to add a little more green. I'm going to use that really nice light green here. It's kind of yellowy. Add that to this side here. All the way up. And I'm going to blend that again with a clean wet brush. A little more green here. All right, I'm on a roll here. I'm going to grab some of that yellow ochre and go back over here. Now, you know, I probably should have waited till all these layers were a bit drier so they don't turn into mud, you know. But I'm having fun, so I don't care. Try to blend that in a little here. I want to try to keep the top of the pear a little lighter though. So I'm going to pull some of that ochre off, if that's what it is. All right, now what do I want to work on now? Looking at the stem, I'm thinking the stem is okay the way it is. Maybe. I think I'm going to go in and put some more of that sort of reddish brown on the stem. There, I think that looks a little better. Just cleaning off my brush. I'm going to pull a little bit of that off because I went a little too far down there. Okay, I'm just going to take a little time out and dry the pear. All right, well, I have my pear dry right now. I have a very clean brush, and I'm going to go into my white, and I have to clean it up first because there's a little purple in there. Hold on. Definitely don't want purple in my pear. So I'm just going to kind of load up my brush here with some white, and I'm going to go into that white area and just put some white, just like that, and get a little more white. And just put a little white glaze or white layer around that area there. Clean brush. And blending. There we go. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to put a little bit of a shadow. So I've got my little pencil again, just to give myself some reference here. And I want to put a shadow because my light is probably going to be coming this way because I have the highlight here. So I'm going to put a little bit, you might not be able to see this, but you can do the same thing. Just put a little bit of a reference, or you can go right away and paint it out. There. And for this, I think I'm going to take a little Payne's gray. Now I know this is Payne's gray here because it's the only gray in my palette. So I'm thinking it's Payne's gray. I'm just dabbing a little bit of the pigment off. I'm just going to paint in that shadow. Put a little water on my brush. Now the shadow is a little darker under the pear than it would be over here, say. So I'm not putting any more pigment, I'm just putting water. And I'm just pulling that gray down. Just going to wipe a little bit of that off. There, the shadow sort of takes away that lopsided, that obvious lopsided area. All right, I'm not going to do anything more with that shadow. Now I'm looking at my pear to see if I want to do anything else with it. I definitely don't want to ruin it, but let's see. I'm going to take my little, what is my liner brush? I've wet my liner brush and I'm going to put it to a nice fine point. Shape it into a nice fine point, that is. And I'm going to take that yellow ochre and I'm just going to put the tip of my liner brush in there. And I'm just going to go in and put little bits, little kind of dots on the pear. Because if you see a pear, it's got little dots on it or little specks on it, right? They're not perfect circles, so that's why I'm going in with a little bit of water here, because I want specks, I don't want circles. And I'll go into that yellow ochre again, and I'm just going to repeat the process. Kind of all the way around. Not the whole pear, but maybe the areas that are already ochreish color, not the green area. Maybe the red area too, a little bit. And now with a little water, I'm just going to smudge them a little so that they're not perfect circles. All right. You know what? I think I'm pretty happy with this. For the first time I've ever done like a still life painting before in watercolor. I've done them with acrylics before, but this was actually a lot of fun to do, and it was very, very relaxing. So don't forget, my friends, you can move mountains, not just on your canvas, in your life. You can definitely move mountains. I hope that you enjoyed this today, my friends. If you did, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to leave me a comment. I love reading your comments, and I do reply to them. If you have any suggestions of paintings that you want to see, if you'd like me to do any tutorials, if you have any ideas, I would love to hear them. If you want to check out my blog, it's rainfrancis.com. Every Thursday I host an art date where you can link up your blog post. And we have about, we're growing in numbers very slowly. We have usually between 12 and 18 people who participate every week, and we visit each other's blogs and we see what each other has done with regards to art. It's also a dinner date, so we post foodie posts as well, and we share recipes and food ideas. And this week's theme is fruit, so I decided to paint this pear. The prompt is optional, of course. You can join in even if you haven't drawn or painted fruit. I would just love to see your artwork. Thank you so much again for watching, my friends. I'll see you next time. Bye.